Right now, we are witnessing what could be the most significant revelation of this entire conflict. Ukraine has just called Russia's bluff in spectacular fashion, and what happened next tells us everything we need to know about Vladimir Putin's real intentions. For years, the Kremlin has insisted this invasion was about one thing, and one thing only: stopping NATO expansion. They claimed they had no choice but to attack. They said they were protecting Russia from Western aggression. Well, President Zelensky just put that exact offer on the table. Ukraine will not join NATO. If this war was truly about NATO, the guns should be falling silent today. But they are not. Russia rejected the deal before they even read it. And that rejection is exposing a truth that the world can no longer ignore. Let us go straight to what happened in Berlin. President Zelensky made an extraordinary statement during high-level negotiations involving Ukraine, the United States, and Germany. These were not ordinary talks. This was a major summit lasting multiple days behind closed doors. European leaders monitoring these discussions have called this the best chance yet to achieve peace. Finnish President Alexander Stubb, who's been closely following these negotiations, expressed genuine optimism. He acknowledged we are living in different times now, but emphasized the importance of working with current realities to preserve the alliance between Europe and the United States. Here is exactly what Ukraine offered. Zelensky announced that Ukraine would give up its bid for NATO membership. This has been Ukraine's primary demand since the invasion began. Zelensky always argued that NATO was the only security guarantee Russia would respect. But now, Ukraine is willing to accept something different. Instead of NATO membership, Ukraine would receive Article 5-like guarantees from the United States and European partners through bilateral treaties. This means an attack on Ukraine would be treated as an attack on the entire Western alliance. The protection would be similar to NATO, but structured differently. This is a massive development, and here is why it matters so much. According to multiple reports, the United States is actually willing to have this treaty ratified in the Senate. That requires 66 votes, a two-thirds majority. If that happens, this agreement would be far more permanent than the Budapest Memorandum signed in 1994, which was merely an executive agreement. A Senate-ratified treaty survives presidential administrations. It becomes embedded in American foreign policy. There appears to be bipartisan support for this in Congress, which makes passage a real possibility. Now, why would the Trump administration support such a strong commitment to Ukraine? A revealing Vanity Fair article featuring President Trump's Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, provides some answers. According to that piece, many experts in the administration believe Putin would be satisfied with controlling Donbass. But President Trump himself does not believe that. Trump thinks Putin does not want peace. He wants all of Ukraine. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoed this concern in the same interview. He revealed that multiple offers have been placed in front of Putin that would give Russia everything it currently controls in Ukraine, more than 20% of the country. Putin keeps rejecting these offers. That pattern of rejection tells us something crucial about his actual objectives. Anyone who has followed this war closely understands what Putin truly wants. Remember the first days of the invasion? Russian tanks were not heading toward Donbass. They were heading straight for Kyiv. The Russian military attempted to decapitate the Ukrainian government and seize the capital. If it were not for the Ukrainian army's fierce resistance, Putin would have taken the entire country. The fact that tanks rolled toward the capital city reveals the original goal. Russia failed catastrophically in that initial assault, but the ambition never changed. European leaders have been warning about this for a long time. The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs recently made this crystal clear. She explained why countries want to join NATO in the first place. They join because they do not want Russia to invade them. That is why Sweden and Finland joined NATO after Putin invaded Ukraine in 2022. Many observers have called Putin the greatest salesman NATO ever had because his aggression keeps driving countries into the alliance. But here's where things get truly alarming. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov recently made a chilling statement. He said Russia wants to return to the 1997 NATO borders. Think about what that means. Russia wants Sweden to leave NATO. Russia wants Finland to leave NATO. Russia wants Poland to leave NATO. Russia wants the Baltic states to leave NATO. This is not about protecting Russian speakers or preventing encirclement. This is about rebuilding the Soviet sphere of influence, one step at a time. Now let us talk about what Russia is demanding in these negotiations and why Ukraine cannot simply hand over Donbass. There is a critical piece of land called the Fortress Belt. This area has natural defensive lines and fortifications that Ukraine has built over years of conflict. It is incredibly difficult for any army to break through. If Russia controls that territory, the path to major Ukrainian cities becomes wide open. The terrain beyond the Fortress Belt is essentially flat playing field, where Russian forces would have a much easier time advancing. Ukraine knows that giving up Donbass means giving up its ability to defend the rest of the country. Putin knows this too. That is exactly why he wants it handed over in negotiations rather than fighting for it. Taking that land by force would cost Russia millions of casualties. Despite all of this, Europe is still trying to make peace happen. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz proposed something simple and humane. He asked Russia to agree to a one-day ceasefire on Christmas. Just one day. No shooting, no bombing, no missiles. Russia claims to be the last country in the world defending Christian values and Western civilization. Germany essentially said, prove it. Show the world you have some humanity left. Stop killing Ukrainian children for one single day during the holiest time of the year. If you are finding this coverage valuable, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Your support helps us continue bringing you this important reporting. Russia's response to the Christmas ceasefire proposal was immediate and brutal. The Kremlin rejected it outright. A senior Russian official said they do not want short-term solutions. They do not want to give Ukraine a chance to breathe. They want to continue the war until they achieve all their goals. When asked specifically about the ceasefire, the Russian spokesperson said they are not interested in temporary measures. They want total victory. But the most revealing moment came when Russia responded to the peace plan that emerged from the Berlin summit. Remember, this plan includes Ukraine giving up NATO membership, which is supposedly what Russia has demanded all along. A senior aide to Putin, someone involved in every major Russian negotiation, said something extraordinary. He said that if Ukraine is happy with the plan and Europe is happy with the plan, then Russia will definitely not be happy with it. He rejected the proposal before even seeing the details. He admitted they have not read the document, but insisted there will be sharp objections to many points. This is the moment the mask slipped completely. Russia is not fighting to stop NATO expansion. Russia is not fighting to protect Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine. Russia is fighting to erase Ukraine from the map entirely. When you offer someone exactly what they claim to want, and they reject it without even looking at it, you know the stated reason was never the real reason. The implications of this revelation extend far beyond Ukraine. If Putin succeeds in conquering Ukraine, he will not stop there. European leaders understand this. The EU High Representative warned explicitly that if Ukraine falls, other regions will be in danger. History teaches this lesson repeatedly. Appeasement does not satisfy aggressors. It emboldens them. Since 1991, Russia has followed a consistent pattern. From Chechnya to the Balkans, from Moldova to Syria, from countries in Central Africa to Ukraine, Russia chooses conflict over peace. The common thread is not defense or protection. It is expansion and control. This invasion fits perfectly into that decades-long pattern of aggression. The peace plan from Berlin will be delivered to Russia soon, if it has not been already. Based on everything we have seen, Russia will reject it. Not because the terms are unacceptable, but because Putin does not want terms at all. He wants unconditional surrender. He wants Ukraine to cease existing as an independent nation. Every diplomatic effort, every compromise offered, every gesture of goodwill has been met with the same response. More bombs, more missiles, more dead civilians. The world is watching a pivotal moment unfold. Ukraine has demonstrated its willingness to make painful compromises for peace. Russia has demonstrated its unwillingness to accept anything less than total conquest. The choice before the international community is stark. Support Ukraine's fight for survival, or watch as a European democracy is systematically destroyed by a regime that has made its intentions unmistakably clear. This story is developing rapidly. The coming days and weeks will determine whether diplomacy has any chance at all, or whether this conflict will continue grinding on with no end in sight. What happens next will shape the security of Europe for generations to come. Stay with us as we continue to follow this breaking situation.